chemical cracking plants and photographed a lot of silhouettes of towers, tubes, pipes, just all kinds of shapes that would represent this, that we could then reduce to various sizes and give them to an actual chemical etching plant where these silhouette cutouts were pasted together in long rows and then acid etched in brass using a photolithography process. This gives a tremendous amount of almost photorealistic detail. So those are graduated off into the distance at various layers. And one of the kind of photographic techniques that we had used on Close Encounters was an extremely high density of smoke in the photography room while we're shooting, which allows a differentiation between these layers. And so we knew that technique would work pretty well on Blade Runner and be pretty quick and inexpensive to do because we already had all the smoke equipment and the space to do it. So then in the foreground it graduated into actual three-dimensional models of buildings, towers, tubes that we actually built as miniatures.
Would you come out?
The aesthetics of the film are at times colorful and bright, and yet it's mostly dark, particularly at the edges. The architecture is a labyrinthian technological maze of advertising, futuristic dreamscapes, and places similar to our cities and yet more sinister. The buildings of the metropolis are eclectic, sometimes familiar and other times the stuff of pure science fiction. We see architecture that's informed by buildings of the last century, juxtaposed with sculptural form that until recently was only the stuff of science fiction. The cityscape seems somewhat familiar with its neon signs and street-side vendors, but the science fiction of the film comes alive with the machines of the sky, and it's the buildings that are designed with these machines in mind that set this movie in its futurist trajectory. The film also keeps the viewer rooted in a real past. The exterior of Deckard's skyscraper apartment turns out to be Frank Lloyd Wright's Ennis Brown house in Los Angeles, and the cramped and spaceship-like interiors were not only based on the house, but the repetitive tiles were molded directly from Wright's original design. Some other real buildings that we see in an incredibly altered state are Union Station and the Bradbury Building, both in downtown Los Angeles.